And of course, even more exciting was the opportunity to meet a lot of legislators.
That's exactly right.
Legislators, which I guess, did that help open the door?
It certainly
for the experience to
become a judge.
Share with viewers what that's like in South Carolina. I guess it's different state to state,
it's
but
different.
in South Carolina, you run not in front of necessarily the public at large, but in front of the legislative body at large.
We are elected by the General Assembly. There is a screening process. There's the Judicial Merit Selection Commission, and that's composed of legislators and members of the general public.
Right.
There's a screening process which we go through. We have to meet certain constitutional criteria,
right.
and then they screen us for temperament, knowledge. We take a test on the particular area we're running for circuit court. They'll give you a test designed for that area.
Really?
Practice and procedure questions.
Right.
And then we have a public hearing where we go before the commission and they'll ask us questions, and then that commission will nominate 3 candidates. Once you're nominated and your name is sent to the General Assembly, then the General Assembly will vote on those one person from those 3 candidates.
Right.
It is a rigorous process.
Oh, yeah. Much more than I imagined before you started saying all that.
And it is very time consuming, of course, because you have to get to know the members. A lot of times, when you have just 3 people, they may not know an awful lot about you, so it helps for you to be able to meet them. So you have to spend a lot of time at the General Assembly trying to get to know the members.
The 170 members, I guess you've got the entire House and the Senate.
That's right, you need a majority vote.
Wow.
And so you have to know quite a few of them, both the House and the Senate.
Right.
And so I think my experience working for Legislative Council certainly helped open that door for me.
Sure.
Because I did know a lot of them through my work there.
Right.
And then I've been able to progress. I think when I was first elected, I was elected as an administrative law judge.
Right.
And then stayed there for a number of years, and then decided to run for circuit court.
Oh, exciting. What's next, Alison?
I would like to go to the Court of Appeals. I've had the
right?
opportunity to run. I've not been
wow.
successful. We've had a number of wonderful candidates who have run in the past, and
right.
So I'm hoping that one day I'll be on the Court of Appeals.
That is tremendous.
And I'll be able to further my career that way.
In a state where the Chief Judge of the Court of Appeals and the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court are both women, a great testament to the fact of when we heard about Senator Hillary Clinton last week putting those 18,000 cracks in the glass ceiling.
That's
18
exactly
million,
right.
excuse me, 18
that's
million
exactly right.
cracks in the glass ceiling. Clearly, Gene Toll and Kay Hearn have made those same cracks
and they have opened the door for the rest of us, and they are wonderful role models, not only for those of us, the women in the judiciary, but also for all of our young ladies.
And young men,
and young men.
Think about
right.
For your son
Don't want
and
to leave
daughter.
them out. That's exactly
right. I went to Washington to see a group of Horry County women sworn into the bar of the U.S. Supreme Court, and Chief Justice Cole went up, which was fascinating to see.
That's a wonderful trip. I've not had the opportunity to make that trip, but I would like to.
It was amazing, and Chief Justice Toll is such a special woman there.
She is. She's a wonderful advocate for the judicial system and a wonderful jurist, and I'm just proud to serve under her.
Absolutely. I hate to say it, Alison, but I believe, am I correct, that we've got a big birthday coming up in September?
Yes, I do. I'll be turning 30 all over again.
I love it. That's tremendous. And you had your son at a little young.
I did indeed. No, I'll be 50 in September, and
that's a big birthday.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm very pleased.
Of course, so many folks are excited to turn 30, and then a little anxious about 40. I guess when you're turning 50, it's old hat at that. I mean,
but it's exciting still. I mean, there's so much more to do, and of course, you still feel very young and energetic and ready to conquer the world. And the nice thing about turning 50 is that you have the maturity to know some things in life and to hopefully carry those experiences with you.
Listen, a lot of folks wonder how judges are able to, I know you highlighted the juries are very active in the Fifth Circuit, and I guess in all the circuits throughout the state, but how do you separate yourself, that maturity level, for all judges, how do you separate yourself from getting emotionally attached to some of the cases? That must be very difficult. I know you talked about one.
It's something that you have to learn over time. I think the story I told you, I was first assigned to Myrtle Beach when I was on the bench, and I was holding criminal court, and there were a number of young men who had come down to vacation with their families. They were from Ohio and had gotten into some trouble, and I think the story I told you is that they wanted to go and get some drugs, but someone came up with the idea, instead of buying the drugs, let's rob the drug dealer.
Right.
And unfortunately, they were charged with strong arm robbery, and which is a felony. And they were 18, 19 years old.
Right.
And came from backgrounds that were just stellar. I mean, they, scholastic records. So they had scholarships to various colleges. In the sentencing phase, their parents and all the families came down with them for that, and they talked about how they've had to put their college lives on hold because they didn't know what was going to happen with the charges and what kind of sentence would be imposed. One enjoyed working with children, and in Ohio he would be precluded from doing that because of the felony conviction. And it was just listening to their stories, it was just so sad. And very emotional for me, because as I looked at them, all I could think about was, that could be my son.
My own. Right.
Just making a stupid mistake.
Right.
Just getting caught up in the moment and following the lead of someone else.
And that was a time when your son may have been 10 or 11 or
I
younger,
think
and
he
your
was
daughter
11.
even
Yeah.
5 or 6, 7.
He was
And
11.
to think they weren't even at that age yet, how even more emotional that would have been if they were at an equal age or a peer level.
And that's the sad part about what I do, because I see people, especially when they're that age. I've seen a number since, and I still think about that every time I look at them. That they've had the opportunities, that they've done something stupid, and just forever will change their lives, and may not have the same opportunities in the future, and may not be able to do things that they wanted to do, all because of one bad move, and that's very difficult.
We just got a couple of minutes, Alison. You made a strong point earlier last week about juries, and that juries can really do some great things, and to help really follow the law, they get into it and monitor closely what's happening. A lot of folks get concerned about juries, but juries really...
The jury system really works. I have not had a jury yet that was not very concerned about what they were doing, that did not want to do the right thing. They wanted to follow the law. When you tell them that they shouldn't discuss the matter among themselves, they follow those instructions, and they really try to do everything that they can to make sure that our judicial system works properly. And I tell them that hopefully their service has been good,
right,
that they'll be able to go out and share that with others, so that we can encourage people to continue to want to serve on juries. You often hear about people trying to get out of jury duty,
right.
But I think that most of them find that once they've served and they've had that opportunity, that it's a constitutional privilege to do that, because they are protecting someone's constitutional rights, their right to a jury trial,
right,
and that they think about it a little bit differently, and hopefully they'll go out and spread the word to others.
Speaking of constitutional rights, I think I heard one of the judges last week asked a lot of the contestants, and of course I know it's quiet time, but it was last week, it's in the past, about constitutional rights and what constitutional right really stands out in their minds as the most important, or one of the most important. Do any of those really stick out for you?
I think that they're all very important. I think one young lady did talk about the right to a jury trial.
She did.
And I think that that's wonderful. Our rights are designed to give us freedoms that we all enjoy. A number of the young ladies thought that the First Amendment rights were the most important one, particularly the right to free speech, to be able to get up and say what they'd like and not fear any type of recrimination or adverse effects from that.
Oh yeah, I got to say, I was just impressed that they knew any rights. I talked about the right to break dance or something. Talking about the right to dance, particularly with the shag dance being our state
That's
dance.
exactly right. And we had a few judges, Adriana Hammond, I believe, who was not from South Carolina, and learned a little bit about the shag dance.
That's exactly right.
I
was amazed at your knowledge of all the different state facts, whether the state stone or the state bird or the state everything.
I think I developed a lot of that by working at the General Assembly.
Aha, yes.
Because I felt compelled to know, and you get your legislative manual out, and all those facts are there, so you can read those. And every child who goes to the State House gets a little book on the emblems and symbols, and I'm sure my child got them when they were in school learning about South Carolina. So it's important to know those things.
Alison, what has been the biggest aspect, the most exciting or the most meaningful aspect about being a judge here in South Carolina, circuit court judge in Richland and Kershaw counties. What's meant the most to you about that?
I think the idea that you are helping others, that there are people who often have many disputes and have challenges that they're facing, and that they're able to come into court and have those disputes resolved. And then, of course, on the criminal end, that you're affording individuals who've been charged with criminal offenses the opportunity to have a jury trial to determine whether they're guilty or they're innocent. And you're protecting those rights and making sure that we remain a just society. And I couldn't be in a better seat. I get a first-hand view of the judicial process at work, and it does in fact work.
That's tremendous. Alison, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Great being with you last week, and hope to see you down in the Myrtle Beach area sometime.
Thank you, and I look forward to coming down. Look forward to seeing you some more.
Sweet.
All right.
Stay tuned. A little more of Judge Alison Lee coming up next. You know, we ran out of time again all week long. We kicked it off early. We ran out of time with Jack yesterday, with Joe on Monday. Didn't you want to ask Alison, how do you juggle being a circuit court judge, a wife, a mother of two, a community servant, active in community affairs there in Columbia, and also extremely active in her church? How do you do it all? Well, she was doing it last week in Spartanburg. She's doing it this week in Columbia, kind enough to rush up here to be with us to talk about the judging, and she's doing it every day. Judge Alison Lee, making a difference. Thanks so much for everything.
Appreciate it.